Quam et suppressor. Roughly translated, How to Survive. The podcast served as a passageway to the evil worlds beyond. It was recorded long ago, when the seas ran red of blood. It was this blood that was used to ink the podcast? Fuck it. In the year 1300 AD, the podcast disappeared. Until now.
Hello and welcome to episode 181 of the How to Survive podcast. We're back in a wooded cabin and I'm here with Joe once again. But even though it seems like a very similar setup to the podcast on The Evil Dead, I can assure you that it's going to be different and much funnier, and there'll be a lot more blood. Because this time we're covering Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn in some places.
Really? There you go. This is our second film in a row from 1987.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, we like to pair our films, and they're actually paired because they're both parts of franchises.
Yes.
Evil Dead and last week's Noes. I call it Noes in my head.
Nose, yeah.
Nose, yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
1987 wasn't exactly a vintage year, was it? I don't know,
mate. It's got Evil Dead 2, and it's also got next week's film, RoboCop. So 3 on the bounce, 1987. Yeah. But this week it is Evil Dead 2. If you haven't seen Evil Dead 2, then you've had 32 years to see it. If you've seen The Evil Dead, the plot is basically the same, but with some added scenes at the end.
Yeah.
It's available pretty much anywhere that you would expect a movie to be available. I think it's available to stream on Now TV.
Yeah.
If you have that facility.
Which probably means it's on Sky, right? Because that's the same.
Yeah, probably in the UK. I'm sure it's widely available. So if you'd like to see it before we recap the film, now's your chance to go and do that. So we're going to recap the film and then talk about what we liked and didn't like. And then, of course, how we would survive Evil Dead 2 after this.
4 years ago, in this quiet forest, in this cozy cabin, something happened. Something so frightening. Something so deadly. Something so evil. We prayed it would never happen again. Now, from the creator of Evil Dead, comes Evil Dead 2. Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Evil Dead 2 opens on a kind of reimagined version of the events of The Evil Dead. Once again, Ash journeys to a remote woodland cabin with his girlfriend Linda, only this time there is just the two of them. While there, Ash plays a recording of an archaeologist, Raymond Noby, reciting passages from the Sumerian Book of the Dead, also known as the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, which awakens an evil presence, a Kandarian demon, in the woods. The presence attacks and possesses Linda, transforming her into a deadite, and Ash is forced to decapitate and bury her.
Yeah, he
does this with a shovel.
Yes, that's right.
The evil presence later possesses Ash, but the curse is broken by daybreak. Ash tries to flee, but the bridge leading to the cabin has been destroyed. He is once again attacked by the possessed Linda, whose severed head bites Ash on the hand. He eventually gains the upper hand and slashes Linda to death with a chainsaw, killing her for a second time. Shortly thereafter, the hand that Linda bit becomes possessed, and Ash is forced to sever it with the chainsaw. The hand scurries away and flips Ash the middle finger as it goes. Meanwhile, Nobi's daughter Annie returns from the archaeological dig with her partner Ed, and finding the bridge destroyed, are taken to the cabin by locals Jake and Bobby Joe via an alternate path. There they find Ash losing grip on reality, hallucinating, among other things, inanimate objects in the cabin laughing at him. The four find another recording from Nobi, who describes how his recitations resulted in the transformation of his wife into a deadite, forcing him to kill her. The group find the undead Mrs. Nobi in the basement. She possesses Ed, forcing Ash to dismember him with an axe. Bobby Joe flees into the woods, where she is attacked and killed by possessed trees. Ash and Annie realise that to halt the demon, they must read more pages from the Necronomicon, which will open a portal in space and time and force the demonic presence into it. They also read of an ancient hero who fell from the sky and defeated the Deadites in medieval times. Before they can finish the incantation, Jake forces them to look for Bobby Joe at gunpoint, whereupon Ash is possessed once again. He incapacitates Jake, and Annie runs back to the cabin, where she accidentally stabs Jake with a dagger, mistaking him for the possessed Ash. Annie drags him into the cabin, but Mrs. Nobi drags him into the cellar and essentially vaporizes him in like a fountain of blood.
It's like he's being fed into a
wood chipper. Yeah. The possessed Ash attacks once again, but Ash regains control when he sees Linda's necklace. With Annie's help, he attaches the chainsaw to his arm stump, and together they dismember Mrs. Nobi, who by now has transformed into a long-necked monster. The spirit of the woods attacks the cabin, but a wounded Annie is able to recite the remaining incantation, opening the portal and sending the demon into it. Unfortunately, Ash and his car are dragged into the portal too. Ash lands in a desert landscape where he is set upon by an army of medieval knights, believing him to be a deadite. The army is distracted as a real flying deadite shows up, and Ash blasts it with his shotgun. Ash is hailed as a hero who has come to save the realm, causing him to sink into despair.
It's a great ending.
Yeah, and it sets up Army of Darkness, which is the Evil Dead 3, which I haven't seen, but I'm reliably informed is a lot of fun.
Yep.
As is Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Like you say, it's good fun. Great fun.
Yeah.
Genuinely very funny, and all like entirely down to the creativity, which is like what made the first one so fun and what makes this one so fun as well.
Yeah.
Also, it relies so much on Bruce Campbell's physical comedy.
He is excellent, isn't he? He's a brilliant comedy actor.
Yeah. He knows what's needed of him, and he's like amazing at doing it as well.
Yeah, the best eyebrows in the business for conveying expressions.
Exactly, yeah.
And like his jaw as well is fantastic.
The scene where the hand is taking on a life of its own.
Yeah.
You would genuinely believe his hand isn't part of him.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. He looks like a cartoon character, doesn't he? If you had to draw like Action Man as a cartoon, that's what you'd draw Bruce Campbell.
Exactly. And at the end when he's ripped as well. Like at the end when his shirt gets ripped off and you're like, okay.
Fair enough.
I could gladly have watched him like alone in the house battling against like wooden panels and stuff for like the whole film, because he's like everything in like the first 40 minutes, other than the stuff we've seen, is completely unexpected. Epitomized by the scene where every piece of furniture bursts into a chorus of laughter. Yeah. And you're like, okay, this is crazy.
I think my favourite scene is the sort of extended version of the final shot from The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Where the camera chases Ash
Yeah.
through the house, and then like, they threw the crawl space
Yeah.
and all around
It's really
the
good.
cabin. It's amazing.
How did they do the original dome was done with a push bike, right? They put a camera on a push bike.
It's like I think it was some of them were a push bike, and some of them was it's like a plank of wood and two people dragging it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that works as well. I do think it's a bit of a slave to the first movie, but it needn't be really. Like, I don't think they needed the like weird recreation of the first film.
Yeah.
I think how he got there doesn't really matter. Once the film gets going, you're like, okay, there's zombies after him. It doesn't matter necessarily that the first movie even happened, because there's a scene where I think it may be part of the recreation where the dead girlfriend tells him, "Oh, we've got Nancy or whatever, and we've got her soul." And so you have to have seen the first film for that to make sense.
Yeah.
So why have it anyway? I don't know.
Yeah. It's like it could have just started with the final shot of the previous movie, couldn't it?
Exactly. Or a title card saying like, well, not a title card, but a preamble saying he went to the woods with his friends. They're all dead, and like you say, it opens with the last shot.
Yeah.
But why did they recreate it? Do you know?
Yeah. So, well, I don't know exactly why they recreated it, but I know that they were originally going to pretty much fully recreate the original and have all of the cast rather than just Ash and Linda. But then, for budget reasons, that was scaled back to just being Ash and Linda.
But why?
But there's no. I don't know that there's any reason other than it's they wanted to get back to where they were at the end of the previous film.
But you were already there.
Yeah, it's very strange. But it's so you know how spoof movies, like for example, Scary Movie, they ape famous horror movie scenes, as a sort of shorthand to get to like the jokes that they want to tell. So, for example, in Scary Movie, you have the recreation of the first scene in Scream,
right? Yes,
where the babysitter's been stalked through the house and all that.
Yeah,
this is like that because Evil Dead 2 is so much more overtly a comedy than the original that it does feel like a pastiche of itself almost.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Like, so it is like the first half of it is dedicated to just being a goofy remake of the original.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Do you think that's the intention then? It's just
I wonder if it might be.
Reset the tone as being a comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's so much in common with the original. Not least its sort of like manic energy and charm that it has, and the sort of homemade quality that it feels. That sort of feeling is shared between the two.
Yeah, the homemade feeling is like really strong with it because you can kind of see how they did all of the things. So it doesn't make it any less impressive that they did it. Yeah, but it's like you can kind of see the strings where they would be. You can see where the hands would be.
Yeah. But then it's almost part of the charm.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, that's clever. I wouldn't have thought of doing that. And it's impressive that they did.
I wonder if it's, given that the original it was very much a cult movie and home viewing was not really anywhere near as much of a thing as it is nowadays. I wonder if it is like the whole recap thing is like exactly that. It's to avoid alienating people who hadn't seen the original.
Yeah, quite possibly. And this would have had more budget, more promotion, things like that.
Yeah. It was written by Sam Raimi, as was the first one, but along with Scott Spiegel, who's a childhood friend of Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell's. And they made a lot of the, ridiculous 8mm short stuff that Sam Raimi did.
Super 8 stuff.
Yeah, in his childhood. And it was Scott Spiegel who thought that the sequel should be less straightforwardly a horror movie. So to add much more of the sort of slapstick elements to it. This is quite interesting though. Spiegel and Raimi wrote most of the film in their house in Silver Lake, Los Angeles, where they were living with the Coen brothers as well as actors Frances McDormand, Kathy Bates and Holly Hunter.
In one house?
Yeah. 7 like film industry, well, aside from Scott Spiegel maybe, but certainly 6 movie industry icons in one house.
How many Oscar winners in that house?
Well, the Coen brothers alone, I was looking the other day, they have something like 40-something nominations.
Really?
Yeah.
They've won for No Country for Old Men.
They've won a bunch.
Frances McDormand's won. I'm talking about Oscars because like Oscars are this week. That's on my mind.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 didn't win an Oscar though, so what's going on?
Do you think it deserved one?
Yeah.
For what?
Every best picture ever.
So you mentioned the budget there. It's actually a 10-fold increase in budget. The original one had between $350,000 and $400,000, I think, as a budget. And Evil Dead 2 had a $3.6 million budget.
It's not bad, is it?
No.
You can make a good film for that now.
Yeah, you could. It's 7 years after the original as well. Do you think the fact that they carried on with the low budget stylistic elements that we were talking about there, despite it having such a higher budget, do you think that makes it feel like an affectation?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I don't think it does feel like an affectation because it just feels like they've done more of what made the first film so good.
Right.
It's in keeping with the same aesthetic. It's in keeping with what you understood based on the first film. Like part of the charm of both films is that you can sort of, like we said, see how they made the special effects. And it's a very physical film, like the first one. All of the gore and violence is satisfying because it's the result of like real handiwork. I'm not suggesting that like there isn't a level of artistry and computer generated graphics, because of course there is, but there's a lot to be said for turning like stage gags essentially into a feature-length film about zombies and making it both scary and funny.
Yeah, I guess even if it is affected, that it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, think about other movies where the budgets jumped a lot, like Matrix to Matrix Reloaded, and they're like, oh, we got all this money, let's push the limits of CGI, and it was worse for that fact, right? Whereas they didn't in this. They just did it bigger props with the same
with the same attitude almost. Yeah, you are right. There's some sort of slightly rope, like the flying Deadeye is like a miniature that they've rotoscoped in or whatever, and that looks a bit ropey.
Yeah,
but
that's fine. It's the 80s. You can forgive it.
Yeah.
I liked the deer when that came to life. That was funny.
Yeah, that is because that must be.
It's a puppet,
animatronic
right?
or something.
Yeah, I think you can see like there's a hand probably in there.
Right.
The Deadite spinning on the ceiling is quite good as well.
Yeah, that's Ted Raimi.
Is it?
Yeah, Sam Raimi's brother.
That's funny.
And he apparently the latex suit that he had to wear in his costume as Mrs. Noby was so hot that when they took it off, they would have to pour liters of sweat out of the suit. And if you look as Mrs. Noby's spinning on the ceiling, you can see it pouring out of her ear, the actual stream of fluid pouring out of the costume's ear.
Oh, mate. That's good.
Imagine how that smells.
I guess it would have made the it's like knowing that makes the whole thing more disgusting, and it's already pretty nauseating. Yeah,
well, it's very over the top in terms of its gore.
It is, but it's a different kind of gore to other movies we've covered. I mean, obviously it's very similar to Evil Dead 1.
Yeah.
I think we played Evil Dead 1 with Brain Dead last time.
Right.
And Brain Dead is gory, but to the point of you feeling ill, like genuinely sick.
Yeah, because this is what I was thinking, right? In that last time when we were talking about Evil Dead, we were talking about whether or not it being so over the top in terms of its gore actually stops it from being scary. And I think it does in this instance. I think with Brain Dead, I think what you said was that is it Stephen King who talks about the different types of horror, and there can be the disgust horror reaction.
Yeah, that's right.
That you do get that in something like Brain Dead, as you said, but I don't think you get it in this because it's more
so cartoony. Like you could show this to a 12-year-old and they might be a bit like, ooh, but they'll be like, it's more funny than it is scary, I think.
Well, it's supposed to be the Three Stooges, but blood instead of custard pies, essentially.
Right. Is that your reading? Or
No, I know that I think it's Mark Kermode says that. I don't know whether that's based on something that Sam Raimi has said, but it's certainly the whole blood instead of custard
it's
pies
vaudeville.
thing.
Like this, the whole thing is stage gags, right? You can imagine a Laurel and Hardy stage show where, like, there's a bucket with a rat in it that walks off.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's a hand.
Yeah.
Right? It's a mousetrap, right?
Yeah. It's a slapstick comedy, really, isn't it, at its heart? But I think the result is that it's a complete non-entity as a horror movie to me.
Yeah, that was the case. It dumbed down the horror in the first one by making it too funny. But this is a comedy.
Yeah.
The parts that make it scary are the creature design, which is, they're freakish and they look really cool and they're unsettling. I'm not going to have nightmares about them.
No.
But they're like upsetting to look at when you're watching the film.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to eat your lunch while watching it.
No. You've said that before, actually, I think, haven't you, about a lot of the sort of 80s or like B-movie horrors that have the sort of rubber prosthetics.
Yeah, right.
You find it really hard to watch.
I don't know why. Like, so Red Letter Media, the YouTube channel,
right?
They do
best of the worst,
right? So they'll watch like a collection of really shitty 80s B movies. Mm-hmm. And I used to like watching Red Letter Media with my lunch when I used to work in an office.
Yeah, and
I couldn't watch half of those because just like seeing someone in a like slimy wolf costume makes me like not want to eat my lunch.
It's an odd, an odd juxtaposition, I guess.
I think you can smell it, right? You can, like you said about the latex, you can be like, that must reek of just like cheap plastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It must be disgusting. Yeah, but I think when I say that it's a non-entity to me as a horror movie, that's not really a criticism because it's so plainly
not meant to be a horror
not
movie.
Intended to be a horror movie.
It's not Hereditary, is it?
No, it's certainly not.
I mean, like, Hereditary, for example, works because there's a deeper plot, there's a deeper subtext. It's about something that it's not about, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can't really, like, a film theorist would struggle with Evil Dead 2 because it's just man in room gets bloody.
Yeah. The underlying story with it is its production, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
The fun that they had making it.
Yeah.
Or the energy that goes into it.
There's no allegory.
No. No. Maybe we're wrong. Look, if you know of the Evil Dead allegory, then let us know before we cover Army of Darkness at some point in the future. HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com. So poor old Ash has a bit of a rough time, doesn't he?
A little bit. It's never ending.
No.
I think that's part of the fun of it as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, here we go again.
Yeah. He chops his arm off with a chainsaw and then later replaces his arm with
the same chainsaw.
Yeah, like a sort of rigged up prosthetic power tool limb.
Mm-hmm.
So it got me thinking, and this is a sort of early digression into How to Survive, I suppose.
Okay.
What do you think the best power tool would be to have as a prosthetic limb?
Chainsaw works very well.
It's not the most practical though, is it? Day to day.
Not day to day, no. You mean in general?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, these notes won't make any sense.
Well, no, please, like, you know.
So the chainsaw, if you're in Ash's situation,
if you're up against Deadites, I mean that is Ash's day to day now.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
this is his life now.
Mr. Deadite fighter.
Yes.
The chainsaw works because you got a good range with it. It's quite agile. I guess the risk is you follow through too much on your swing and take your own
leg off.
Yeah,
and then you have to replace that with a chainsaw.
Yeah, exactly. My father-in-law has a weed killing device, which is a flamethrower.
Right. Okay.
Which is great.
Yeah.
You might use a power scythe.
Okay. What is it? What is one of those?
It's like a push along kind of like a rotavator, I guess, but it doesn't turn up. How familiar are you with gardening tools?
Is it sort of like do they call it like a weed whacker or something?
Something along those lines.
Where it's like a plastic tube that gets spun at like high velocity.
Yes.
Like it's a blade.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but at that point, when something gets to push you long, you maybe just go for a lawnmower, and then you're back in brain dead.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Well, the main idea that I had in terms of practical value is, I mean, ideally you want something that you could supplement with different attachments.
Right.
So I thought a drill, right? So if you replace your arm with a drill that has, one that you can replace different drill bits.
Hammer action.
Yeah, hammer action, exactly, right? So an impact drill, if
masonry.
it was very low energy, it'd be useful for sort of pressing buttons.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. You get to the lift and you, you put your hammer drill setting on, and then, I mean, why you couldn't just use your other arm?
Yeah,
I don't know. You can have
that's a chainsaw, of course.
Yes, well, that is true. You could have a fork attachment, which you could use to wind spaghetti.
Yeah.
Don't accidentally have the hammer function still enabled, because you just punch through your kitchen table instantly. You can have a claw attachment and hold things in a sort of rudimentary fashion.
As long as you don't mind spinning them. This is when you're not in. It's just powered off at this point.
Well, yeah, exactly. You don't have to. It doesn't have to constantly be spinning.
I think it does. Otherwise, there's no fun at all.
Yeah, well, maybe that's true. What about leg wise? If you had to replace a leg with a power tool,
pneumatic drills.
Pneumatic drill is exactly what I had. Because I thought initially, you could leap a building in a single bound.
Yeah, but it's more like you dig down under the building,
or your leg would fly off, and the rest of you would stay where it is.
Yeah,
your leg would fly over the building at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Do you think pogo sticks as legs would be useful?
Pogo sticks as legs? No, I don't think it would be useful.
Fine.
You
I'm glad we had this talk.
You can expand upon it if you like.
I was thinking, you've been on a pogo stick.
Yeah.
They're good fun. I mean, I haven't done it as an adult.
I don't think you wouldn't be able to stand still, ever.
You could. You practice. I mean, you'd have to have knees built into them. You'd have to have, hinge.
But then how can you control the hinge element?
Let's say you severed your leg below the knee.
Right.
And your foot was replaced by a spring, is basically what I'm saying.
Right. So, but then that's just still your knee.
Your knee, yeah.
Yeah, as in there is no hinge. Yeah. Unless you want another hinge in the...
No. The knee would be an adequate hinge. I'm saying you wouldn't be able to attach it to the hip and just have a pole, because you're right, you'd fall over.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be able to stand still. You'd have to constantly be moving.
Yep.
Forever.
Up and down.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're glad we talked about that. That's good.
Yeah.
Glad we cleared it up.
Well, moving on to the main event then, Joe. If you were in poor old Ash's predicament, how would you survive?
Well, first of all, I guess it's a bit mealy-mouthed because it doesn't play into it. When he first starts the chainsaw in the shed, you got this note as well?
No.
He's got it leaning across his knee when he starts it.
Right.
I was like,
is this in the first instance?
Yeah,
right.
First time. And I'm like, come on.
He's not the experienced chainsaw user that he is later, though.
No, that's true. But I think the first rule of any motorized tool function is keep your limbs away from the spinning blades.
Yes. It's a fair suggestion.
But he's got it not the blades across his knee, but the hand unit, the motor is resting on his knee. I'm thinking...
I think a big problem with chainsaws is not necessarily that it is basically that they get stuck, and then obviously chainsaws have teeth.
Yeah.
Right. A big problem is that if you're cutting a tree, say, the teeth get stuck, and so everything else is propelled by the energy the chainsaw is.
Right, so it spins out your hand.
Right, it spins out your hand and into your leg or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is why people like tree surgeons
wear armor.
They use Kevlar.
Yeah.
They wear Kevlar trousers and Kevlar overalls.
My dad does a bit of gardening, as you know, and he's got chainmail stuff.
Yeah. It's necessary. I'd make it out of diamonds if it was me. It's nasty. Yeah, the idea of that is nasty. And yeah, it could easily have gone very wrong for him. You're right.
Yeah.
How
does he rev the chainsaw? I couldn't work that out.
When
it's attached to his arm.
So he's got there's like a clip,
Right.
and that's up by his shoulder, and there's the string with the toggle thing is fed into that. So the toggle is held up by his shoulder.
Yeah, that's how he starts it. I guess it's turning over. But how does he?
Oh right, I see.
If,
Maybe it's just like max rev
all
constantly.
the time.
Yeah, you don't need subtlety when you've got a chainsaw for an arm.
That's true.
You know, must go through fuel though.
Yeah, because once he's back to medieval times, what's he going to do? There's no refineries.
It'd be a decent club, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Battering someone. Yeah. He could, maybe there's sufficient oil in the Oldsmobile.
I think maybe you solved
the
riddle
problem
of it, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's what is going to happen? He has to sacrifice
Siphon
his...
out,
Do you think he like builds himself a suit of armour out of his car?
But then I think it's made from the imagination of a 15-year-old boy. So it would be like, don't worry about it.
Maybe. What about ammunition for his shotgun?
This is it. I don't know. I think he'll probably make it out of like he'll MacGyver together. They go to like the blacksmith.
Yeah.
Right. And be like, can you make me this? Make me a shell, and they'll be like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. Well, he could just wear a medieval suit of armour.
Yeah. I mean, a shell for the shotgun.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I thought you meant like a Iron Man suit.
No. So yeah, how about you? What do you reckon?
Well, I've only got one idea, really. Do you remember when we covered Contagion?
Yeah,
and
last year sometime.
Yeah, that film's very preoccupied with the transmission of fluids and disease
and germs in general.
Yeah.
What's it called when you touch? It's like the thing is when you touch a surface which has been infected, right?
Yeah,
and you get the disease because you touched it.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Is it fomites?
Yeah, well remembered.
Yes. So that is a film which essentially teaches you to be extremely paranoid about the transmission of any kind of fluid between people.
I'm guessing when I leave here, you're going to like soak this microphone in alcohol.
I go through one a week whenever we record. I just throw it out.
Yeah.
Now, Ash could be served well by closing his mouth.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of fluids flying around in this movie.
Yeah.
And often the characters have their mouths wide open, screaming or yelling, shouting. One girl, I think it's Bobby Joe, ends up with an eyeball in her mouth.
Yeah. No mean feat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's screaming.
Not her eyeball.
No, it's Mrs. Noby's, I think.
I think so.
Or is it her? Is it Ed's? It might be Ed's. I can't remember. Oh, I think it's Mrs. Noby's because she gets
traps
squashed.
her in the trap door and jumps on it.
There's a scene in another Sam Raimi film called Drag Me to Hell, which has an identical moment.
Sure, really?
Yeah, an eyeball flies into a character's mouth.
Brilliant.
In an identical fashion. Anyway, basically, it's not exactly clear how the infection is spread, how the curse...
Certainly biting seems to work.
Biting seems to work. And obviously, in films where biting is used to transmit infection, so zombie films or vampire films, it's because of an exchange of fluids.
Yep.
Now, if we extrapolate from that and assume that the deadite infection or curse or whatever you want to call it is transmitted through fluids, they should really close their mouths.
Yes. I mean, the game's up for Ash. He's already been bit.
Well, that's true, but he's managed to sort of stifle the infection, it appears. Although he does go a bit mad as well, doesn't he? So it's difficult to know how much he's succumbing to the infection. Maybe that'll play a part in Army of Darkness.
Maybe.
But yeah, just close your mouths. We've all been around people, coughing and all that sort of thing, and it's always you're always wary of those sorts of things because you don't want to catch something unaware.
I am, as you said on the podcast, I do MMA, and I was wrestling the other day, and the guy I was wrestling said, "Oh, no sec," and he coughed because he didn't want to cough when we were wrestling. And I was like, well, you just coughed on your hand, and now you're going to wrestle me. I was like, what? Why did you even bother stopping? I'd rather, you may as well just coughed in my mouth. Like, it's that
that's
stupid.
true. Maybe it was a distraction technique.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got your chainsaw arm and just carved him open.
Right.
Your pneumatic drill leg.
Yeah. But imagine that's how you died. You got SARS off some guy from the gym.
Yeah. That's not good, is it?
Did SARS kill people?
I don't think it does you any good, does it?
No.
So yeah, what do you make? What do you make of that? Avoiding the
Just close your mouth.
transmission of fluids.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You'd think a doctor, field doctor of some kind, like the checklist of things to do when you're a doctor, a surgeon of some kind, would be wash your hands, get your hands clean, keep your mouth closed, wear a mask. Mask could do them good.
Mask would do them good. We don't know that there's any in the cabin.
They make them out of like the scarves or something.
Yeah. Also, like it appears Mr. and Mrs. Noby sort of
Lived light, didn't they?
Yeah, but they sort of live there, right?
Yeah, they were staying there, but it was derelict when they got there, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then I guess is that the result of the deadite
Right, because they'd already been
killed? Yes. Any more ideas from you?
One basic one, which is just don't lock the guy in the basement before you've had time to question him.
You talking about Ash?
Yeah, when they arrive there, they beat him senseless,
Well,
assuming that he's murdered Mr. and Mrs. Noby.
Yeah, well, that's because they arrive at the cabin. A strange man is there
Who shoots at them with a shotgun.
And there's blood all over the cabin, and Mr. and Mrs. Noby are nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not Poirot, but but the evidence doesn't look good, does it?
No, I suppose not. Oh, there you go. That's it for me anyway. I'm happy.
But what would you ask him? Like, why? So let's say you came home and there was your wife is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
There's a man there with a shotgun who is a raving lunatic covered in blood.
Yes.
Like, and you can force him into your under the stairs cupboard or whatever.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to do that using your MMA skills.
Yeah.
Are you going to hesitate and have a dialogue with him beforehand? They don't realise that the basement is, a
Haunted.
trap.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on. I suppose you're right. Yeah, if I came home, wife's dead, wife's not there,
Wife's missing. Yeah,
man covered in blood is there.
Little did you know that your wife's already in the under the stairs cupboard and is a deadite.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Well,
I guess I'm wrong then. So, fuck me.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to try and survive. Because it's so over the top, maybe? Like, it doesn't really play by the rules of a sort of film that, encourages survival ideas, does it?
No. Because it's also unpredictable. Like, how do you survive when the books start laughing?
Yeah. It's just, it's just silly, isn't it, essentially?
That's right. Email, Chris. I've had an email, some correspondence.
Speaking of things that are silly.
Yeah. Or people who email us are silly, you mean?
Yes, that was that. Thanks. Yeah.
Email here from Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, guys. First of all, love you guys. And that's saying a lot, because I don't like many things.
Thanks. Thank you, Stephanie.
I just wanted to say that I think As Above, So Below would be great for the show.
We've had a few recommendations of that.
I actually really like the movie and almost want a tattoo referencing it and hermetism. Hermeticism.
Hermeticism.
I don't know what that is. Do you?
No.
I get, is it being a hermit?
But hermetic means like hermetically sealed.
Let's look it up. Hermeticism is a religious, philosophical, and esoteric tradition based primarily upon writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. The Hermetic principle, all is mind, the universe is mental. The first principle embodies the truth that all is mind, like using the knowledge of the
Is this like a random word generator?
What is the meaning of Kybalion? Listen,
Right, we need to watch As Above, So Below.
Thanks for the email. Anyway, when you get the tattoo, send it in and it might spill some light on what this is all about.
Yeah.
but also we'll check out the movie. We had it recommended a few times, so it moves up the list with every recommendation it gets.
Yeah, so we need to do probably a found footage pairing.
Yeah.
Or a Paris pairing, a Catacombs pairing.
Is that what it is?
It's the Paris Catacombs.
A Paris Catacombs found footage movie?
Yes.
Why haven't we covered it? Sounds amazing.
Right up your street.
Anyway, Stephanie finishes by saying, I hope you guys can pronounce my name and I don't have to phonetic it, but it goes Stephanie Parenti. So thank you, Stephanie Parenti.
Thank you very much for your email.
But you may remember last week we had an email from a guy called Chris, there's one who started What's Up Buttercups.
Right.
And he said that we should cover a movie called Fortress and Fortress 2. Right? And he said that we should do that because it has someone called Kurtwood Smith in it.
Right.
And we were both like, who the fuck is Kurtwood Smith?
Right.
Kurtwood Smith's in next week's movie, RoboCop.
Okay.
He is the baddie.
Right.
As in the criminal baddie.
Oh, I see. Right.
He's also Red in the 70s show. That 70s show.
Oh, okay. Right. I've never watched it.
Never watched it?
No.
He's the dad of the main guy. And his big thing is that, like, he says, like, well, I'll put my foot up your ass. Like, that's his catchphrase that he puts into everything.
It's basically the same character as the guy from RoboCop.
Yeah, basically. And he's like, they're like, oh, we need to go. Can you give us a ride to the movies? How about I give my foot a ride up your ass?
Yeah.
Or like,
does his son get covered in toxic waste and then he
wanders into the path of his car when he's driving it away from a motorized
robot man.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been there.
We have all been there. And next week, as we said earlier,
we'll be going there again.
It's 1987's Paul Verhoeven cult classic, RoboCop.
Paul Verhoeven, not long off the podcast.
No.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, we did Starship Troopers not too long ago. Enjoyed it. And next week will be RoboCop to kick off body cyber modification season.
Yeah. Transhumanism season, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So we're doing RoboCop, and then the week after we're covering another transhumanism movie from last year, which is called Upgrade.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to watch that because it's directed by friend of the podcast, Lee Wanell.
Okay.
A.K.A. Adam from Saw. Is that
really?
his name? Yeah.
Adam, the first man.
The first guy from Saw, isn't he? Is that his name?
Yeah, because the reason I remember it is because he's the first man. Yeah. The one who wakes up in the bathtub and couldn't possibly have survived because the key goes down the float.
Right, exactly. The very same.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that his career has gone leaps and strides since then.
Did he direct it in character?
I hope so.
So there you go. That's next week and the week after. See you then.
Thanks very much for listening.
Oh, by the way, email in. Like, HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com.
HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com. You can tweet at HowToSurvivePod. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your podcaster of choice. We are on Spotify. I don't know if we've ever mentioned that on air.
Yeah.
But if you get your podcasts on Spotify, then you probably already know this and you're probably already listening. So
but maybe you're only clinging to Apple Podcasts because of us.
Yeah.
Well, just ditch
Cling no more.
Yeah. Get over to Spotify.
But before you ditch Apple Podcasts,
leave us a 5-star
review. Leave a 5-star review.
And make sure you still download it every week.
Yeah.
And subscribe.
Thank you very much for listening. And until next week,
give me back my fucking hand!